Recently, Netflix released a docuseries titled Quiet on Set, exposing the horrors that happened on the set of various Nickelodeon shows, such as All That, The Amanda Show, and Drake and Josh. The show went into detail about the exploitative nature of children's TV and the sadistic people, such as Dan Schneider and Brian Peck, whom it protects and pays. This docuseries went viral, and everyone was talking about it. Most people were horrified that the channel they dedicatedly watched and loved when they were children could have so many dark and disgusting secrets behind it. For some, it was truly unexpected that a seemingly innocent children's network could be as corrupt as it was. On the show, they talk repeatedly about one particularly cruel higher-up, Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider was a show creator on Nickelodeon who created hit shows like iCarly, Victorious, Zoe 101, and more. For a while, he was Nickelodeon's biggest moneymaker. Naturally, they held on to him until he left Nickelodeon in 2018, but not before he had already done enough damage. People who worked with Dan described him as violent, saying that he would be laughing one moment and having a terrifying outburst the next. Generally, Dan was said to have created a hostile work environment that put people on edge. Employees have also accused Dan of predatory behavior towards minors.
The prop. A person comes onto set with a syringe. We all stood behind the camera to watch. It lands on her face. So first it was Dan roaring, laughing, and then everyone kind of giggling. We heard the boys saying, "It's a shot."
And Jeanette McCurdy seems to refer to him in her memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died.
I'm trying to scare Jeanette.
There's one video in particular where Dan creeps behind Jeanette. It scares her.
Oh my gosh, that scared me so. Things that Dan Schneider has been accused of are truly unspeakable, some of the most disgusting abuse I've ever heard about.
At the end of the day, I love it when the cast gets sassy with me because I get to write all the scripts with some very talented writers, but I can put them in any horrible predicament I choose.
You can touch their hair, you can take a picture with them, you can ask them personal questions, inappropriate ones, whatever you want to do.
If you haven't already, I genuinely recommend that you watch Quiet on Set and read I'm Glad My Mom Died. The book can be hard to read sometimes, but it is so raw and it is so real. But if all these experiences went down on Nickelodeon sets, how the hell did they fly under the radar? Why did it take so long for the actors and crew members to speak out? Why now? Unless you were born yesterday, you have heard of The Wizard of Oz. One of the most famous movies of all time, released in 1939, starring the then 16 to 17-year-old Judy Garland. Judy made the movie what it was. Her performance was praised by critics, and so was her beauty. Judy Garland is known as one of the most iconic actresses of all time. She has made a tremendous impact on movies and acting in such a short amount of time. But Judy Garland lived a difficult life. I mentioned that she was 16 when she started filming The Wizard of Oz, but she was only 13 when she signed with her first agency, MGM. From then on, she was subjected to atrocious abuse. MGM had control of Judy in every way possible, and she was the victim of mistreatment that no one should have to go through, let alone a 16-year-old child. When filming The Wizard of Oz, Judy was kept on a strict diet of chicken soup, coffee, and cigarettes. She was also given diet pills from the young age of 12 and other drugs such as amphetamines to keep her awake so that she could work long hours with little to no rest. Judy would then be taken to the Studios hospital where she would be given sleeping pills that would knock her out. By the time she was an adult, Judy was completely hooked on drugs. At times, I have been pretty much of a walking advertisement for sleeping pills. Even though pills come on doctors' prescriptions, such as mine did, they can be a tremendous strain on the nervous system, she says. But it didn't end there. From ages 16 to 20, Judy was visually sexually harassed. Her co-writer, Gerald Clark, claims that she would be approached for sex by adult men over and over again. So it must come as no surprise that Judy suffered from a mental health crisis later on in 1947, apparently attempting suicide multiple times and showing up to work in distressed conditions. Following this, MGM decided to drop her. Judy struggled with addiction for the rest of her life, and she tragically passed away due to an overdose at the young age of 47. Her life is an excellent example of the abuse that goes on behind closed doors in the entertainment industry, especially to minors and children. But Judy's life isn't a lone case. Many such cases of young child stars come to mind when discussing abuse, more prominently Britney Spears. Britney has always loved performing, and she has been doing so since she was a kid. Britney had made her debut at the young age of 18 with Baby One More Time. Although she was only a teenager when she came into the limelight, she was immediately hypersexualized by the entire nation, if not the world. Every move she made was under scrutiny at all times.
Subject we didn't discuss. What was that? Everyone's talking about it.
What?
Well, your breasts.
My breast.
You seem to get furious when a talk show host comes up with this subject. Okay, in general, what do you think about breast implants?
And when she started dating then-boyfriend Justin Timberlake in 2000, the scrutiny just amplified. They were America's most famous couple for a few years, and after 2 years, they had a very public breakup, and Justin released a music video called Cry Me a River, featuring a Britney lookalike. And the hatred she received was no other. Everyone was criticizing her from all angles. I don't think people who weren't alive during that time understand how extreme the world's obsession with Britney's life was. Her every move was plastered all over the tabloids, talk shows would discuss her erratic behavior, and interviewers would embarrass her publicly. After her teenage years were spent working most of the time and being photographed the rest, Britney had a very public mental breakdown in 2007.
Hey, give me space. Move. Come on, guys. Take a picture. Let's take one picture. We're standing in front of the street, dog. Just
You're outside. I'm home. You stupid. Move.
this idea to now.
Which she looks back at and says she was overwhelmed by grief at that time. A year after her breakdown, Britney was kept under a legal conservatorship by her abusive parents because she was deemed unfit to take care of herself. It was only overturned in 2021. That's 13 years. But it's not just Judy and Britney. There are more cases. Drake Bell, who was violated by a higher-up he thought he could trust. Amanda Bynes, whose career was controlled by her parents that she ran away from them later, and she was favored by Dan Schneider. There are also Lindsay Lohan and Jeanette McCurdy. All of these stars struggled with substance abuse to deal with the pain they were going through at the hands of the child star industry. And it's not just Nickelodeon. The child star industry is inherently corrupt. There is no tangible argument against that. Be it exploitative co-workers and higher-ups, harassment from the media and paparazzi, overwork from parents, or struggling with substance abuse, all child stars have one story or another to tell. And this will never be fixed because of the power imbalance that exists between boss and employee, which is only amplified when the employee is a child and the boss is an adult 2 times their age. And there are virtually no labor laws that protect children working in movies and TV. All that is required is a parent or guardian to be present. And how easy is that to be manipulated? And the fact that the industry is inherently exploitative means that it is exploitative regardless of where it's made. The K-pop industry is notorious for debuting young children, and it's getting worse. Children enter the industry and start training from ages as young as 9. These kids sacrifice their free time and sometimes even their education in order to make time for their training and hopeful debut. But in training, kids overwork themselves to fit the standard they need to reach, starve themselves to survive monthly weigh-ins, abandon their studies to make time for work, which subsequently leads to decreased social interaction with friends and might even be convinced or forced by their agencies to get plastic surgery that permanently alters their appearance to better fit the ridiculous beauty standard they have to adhere to. You stunt your growth for a chance at debuting, because keep in mind, just because you spent all your childhood training does not mean you will certainly end up as an idol. No, you just wasted all those years for naught, and now you are in crippling debt because you spent an overwhelming amount of money on vocal and dance lessons.
And I think it really leads to stunted personal development.
And if you do, by any miracle, get a chance at debuting, you are just put under an even bigger magnifying lens, not just by your agency this time around, but by expectant fans and haters who track every move. You are forbidden from dating, you are not allowed to talk in a certain way, you are not allowed to curse, you are not allowed to dress how you want, and if you dare pick up a cigarette to relieve yourself of all that stress, well, consider your career over. All that just to not get paid properly. Wait, what? Yeah, those lavish K-pop idols you see decked in designer are not always fairly compensated for their work. K-pop group Luna sued their agency, BBC, for withholding payments during their career since 2016. And in addition to that, BBC would constantly mismanage Luna and abuse their power over them. Luckily, Luna won their lawsuit, but it makes me think, how many other idols go through the same thing but never speak up in fear of their career being destroyed? How many of said idols are minors? And how has it become considered normal for 15-year-old girls to put on miniskirts, perform in front of an audience of grown men, and sing about eating that cookie? How? How are we okay with this? In what dystopian world is this considered normal? And when you point out the obvious nebulous intentions behind the agency's actions, you are gaslit and called dirty-minded for interpreting it that way. Yeah, I'm sure the people who enjoy watching teens in skimpy clothing are the sane ones. And we've all heard of Sephora kids, right? I mean, those pre-tween girls who are obsessed with skincare, Stanley Cups, and TikTok, and act way too grown for their age. It seems that everyone and their mom has made a video making fun of them. Anyway, these kids are mostly under 13, so why are they even allowed on social media in the first place? And while we're at it, how has Ryan's Toy Review become one of the highest earning YouTubers, even though he isn't even 13 yet? These kids aren't allowed on social media, so their parents find a loophole in which they make and monitor their accounts, but post their kids for content instead. That way, they don't get taken down for violating the terms of service. But I don't think parents understand how dangerous it is for them to put their kids' faces on the internet. Or maybe they do, but they just don't care because it makes them money. Oh my god, I'm so against people putting their kids on the internet. And I'm even more against them making YouTube channels and profiting off of them. No matter how you frame it, it isn't normal. Why are you setting a camera up in front of your kid and having them do embarrassing challenges? Why are you humiliating them and potentially corrupting their digital footprint at such a young age? Kids are kids. They cannot consent to being put on the internet for millions to watch. Simple as that. And it doesn't just apply to people who profit off of their kids with YouTube channels. It also applies to people innocuously posting their kids online with no suspicious intentions. Do you really not comprehend how risky it is to merely post your kid's face on the internet? Or are you aware of it and simply ignoring that because it gets you clout? It can be hard to accept, but the internet is not just made up of innocent individuals who want to marvel at how adorable your child is. It is full of predators and creeps who go to social media to look for their next victim. At some point, you must ask, who's really watching that video of your child doing gymnastics in a tiny suit? Children have been and continue to be exploited for our entertainment, be it in TV shows, music, child pageants, social media, or more. Laws need to be set that ensure children are always safe and guarded on sets of TV shows and movies, and that they work fair hours that are suitable for their growing bodies and allow them to balance work and school. There should also be laws that prevent parents from using their kids as cash cows and forcing them into acting industry for their own gains. There should be, and always should be, people on set that guarantee that studios are not violating these laws and are protecting children from their rights being infringed on. I honestly do not believe that these are outlandish requirements or even that difficult to achieve. And as for music and K-pop, I do not see a single reason to debut a minor when you can have someone over 18, not a single legible one. The only reasons I can think of is wanting to advertise to creeps and the fact that children are easier to exploit and manipulate so that they stay in the business longer. And obviously, these are not good reasons. They're dangerous. Similarly, social media sites need to start regulating kid content. I don't refer to mommy bloggers when I say this. Mommy bloggers are necessary because they help parents understand more about taking care of a child. I mean people who shoehorn their kids into whatever content they make because they figured out that family bloggers are easy money. I mean people who let their 10-year-old daughters ruin their skin barrier by making TikToks of their skincare smoothie. I mean people who post their kids' every move, even when they are clearly uncomfortable with it, just for some views. But that is currently out of reach. Until then, it is up to us to stop watching family vloggers and kids on social media. It is up to us to call out studios who mistreat minors. And yes, it is up to us to stop listening to music made by minors. But it seems that you people can't even do that. Seriously, everyone criticizes the age of children in the industry, but seems to completely forget about it when they release their debut song. You cannot consume content by a minor and watch their every move and hate on them for eating a strawberry in a way you don't like, and then act surprised when that idol has a mental breakdown, or worse, takes their own life. This happens way too often. Everyone acts so shocked when an idol tragically takes their own life, and then they act so remorseful and regretful. But a month later, it is back to them being hyper-aware and critical of an idol's every move, which hurts the idol and hurts them even more when they have been in the industry since they were children. Do you not realize how hypocritical you sound? Children should not be in the entertainment industry. Point blank, period. It is not a child's job to sacrifice their physical or mental health just for us to laugh at them or enjoy their music. Even if you think the child enjoys it, I re-emphasize that children cannot consent, and the industry is a dark place ripe with chances to be taken advantage of.
You pull back the curtain on child stardom. It is not a pretty picture.
Not as I see it, no. You're playing an adult's game. You're in an adult's world, and you don't recognize that. You're incapable of being on that level, but you are confused and you think that you are.
Most child stars would agree with that, so why can't we? If you've somehow made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching it all the way through. I'm so grateful. You have no idea how grateful I am. If you enjoyed it, be sure to click the like and subscribe. Why not? It's literally free. Like, you can subscribe if you want. It's not gonna hurt you. And press the notification button. Leave a comment telling me what you think because I'm interested and I want to discuss it with people. Okay, bye.